The Walmart greeter is the stuff of nightmares to me. For those of you who don't know, the Walmart greeter is a person, an employee at Walmart, these superstores in the United States. They sell all kinds of domestic goods, right? So like a supermarket cum DIY shop. Anyway, there are these huge warehouse shops, and as you walk in, there is usually this gentleman dressed up in street clothes, but like a vest or a shirt of Walmart. And he is there to greet the customers. And for the most part, in my experience at least, every time I've walked in, the greeter has been unfailingly polite and cheerful. And he is usually an older gentleman, and you see, he is making minimum wage. It is a very, very low-paying job because after all, he's just greeting people. Yeah, I've watched interviews with some of these greeters, news channels and whatnot that have done pieces on Walmart greeters. And a lot of these men were blue-collar workers, successful in their profession, and they knew a craft. They were welders, they were iron workers or whatnot, and they knew what they were doing. Bricklayers who had, laid brick 40 years, but they were unemployed and they had no money. That's the terrible thing. They had no money, and so here they were, long past the age of retirement. Some of them had gone through long stretches of unemployment, and they were 65, 70 years old, and standing there 8 hours a day or more sometimes, working as a Walmart greeter for a minimum wage that could barely cover their expenses. Yeah, the nightmare for me is that these gentlemen, they need the money. They need the money very desperately. They need the money because they don't have any money. And their Social Security might not be enough. And they have no retirement. They have no contingency plan. I mean, they're essentially broke, living day to day, paycheck to paycheck from their Walmart greeter job. And I find that horrifying. I find that just horrifying. And I want to be really, really clear about something, that I do not look down on these men, not at all. On the contrary, I want to make it very, very clear that I look at them with respect. I respect them, and I look at them and how they're all shaved, their hair nicely cut, looking very tightly in clean clothes, their fingernails kept carefully. And these men, I respect them because they are trying to maintain a standard, a middle-class standard. But they have no money, They are not sliding into alcoholism or drug addiction. They are not sliding into eccentricity. They are not becoming like a weird homeless men or something like that. No. They're trying to maintain that standard. They are working desperately hard as a Walmart greeter. They are working so desperately hard to earn just a little bit of money, just enough to pay for the bills, to pay for food. Just to pay for food. And they are old, and their youth is gone, and the years ahead of them, each year harder than the last, because as their bodies decay, it's harder and harder for them to work, to stand there for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, greeting people, always with a smile, always with, just a smile, cheerful, as their body decays. I feel nothing but compassion for these men, but they are an object lesson to both you and me. They are an object lesson because these gentlemen, who are wonderful people, they are decent men, but they mismanaged their lives. They did not look out for themselves because they are working as Walmart greeters, for crying out loud. Maybe they had some bad luck, maybe this, that, the other, sure. But they weren't paying attention, they weren't depending on themselves. A lot of these men worked factory jobs all of their lives, and they thought that the factory, the firm, would take care of them in their old age, in their retirement. And the factory shut down, went broke, there was no money in the pension fund, and all of a sudden, there they are, 70 years old, and they don't have enough money to eat. The Social Security check is not enough to cover them, and so they have to go out and work at age 70 after a lifetime of working. They didn't plan. They depended on others. They thought that others would take care of them. And that was their mistake. You cannot depend on anyone Accept yourself to look after your interests, to look after the old man that you will become. Because you see, you will become an old man. We all will become old men. And we now who are young, we have to look out for that old guy. We have to look out for that old man and provide for him. We have to provide for him, get the things that would ease his life. We have to get the apartments, the real estate investments, the rental properties, whatsoever, to provide a steady stream of income into the future. We have to be thinking of the city where we are buying these rental properties and saying to ourselves, will this city be vibrant in 20, 30 years? Or is it in a slow fade? There are lots of places that once were boom towns and now they're ghost towns. It happens all the time. You got to pay attention to that now when you can, now when you're young and strong enough to do it. And you tell me that, oh, I'm 40 something. You're young, yeah? You know what's old? 70, 75, 80, and working as a Walmart greeter. That's old. You want to be taking care of that old man that you will become. You want to be taking care of him now that you can. You say you're 25 and that 80 is like decades away. I tell you little shits all the time. The days are long, but the decades are short. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, they fly by like that. The other day, man, I was thinking about this rock album that I bought, and I remember it so clearly. I remember going to the shop, picking up the album, talking to a buddy of mine as we're walking home, and I took a metro, I remember, to a metro underground train, right? And this is in Santiago. I took it to get home. I walked home with the album. I was looking at the cover. I remember this so clearly. It happened in 1989. 30 years ago, and I remember even the things I was talking about to my buddy back in the day. A day that happened, I'm thinking, oh, it happened like yesterday. No, 30 years like that. Yeah. You say you're 25, you say you're 35, that you got decades ahead of you. That's what I thought when I was 19, and look at me now, an old fart of 51. That's how fast it goes. You're at that bar, you know, and you had that overpriced drink for 10 bucks, and you're thinking of getting another overpriced drink for another 10 bucks? Huh? Think. You gotta save now. Is that $10 drink really worth it? Really necessary? Is buying a round of drinks for a bunch of complete strangers really that necessary? That $100 that you'll throw away, piss away, on people that you don't know, who don't care about you, that you'll never see again? Is it worth it? And you're saying, oh, but you know, you got to live your life. You only live once. Yeah, that's very true. You only live once, yeah? But the difference is that, see, the decisions you make now when you're young affect the old man that you will become then. And once you're that old man, you're set, because you do only live once. And if you live wrong now, you will be fucked later. So think of the old man you will become. You want to comfort him. You want to take care of him now. You want to take care of that old man and make sure that he's all right. You want to make sure, tenderly, lovingly, to set him up, because no one else will. No one will take care of that old man that you will become. So you have to take care of him. Or leave him to his fate and watch him greet people for hours and hours a day, standing there, and so sad and so old, and trying to be cheerful. He needs to smile and be cheerful, because if he doesn't, he'll lose this job of being a Walmart greeter.